Hi everyone! Before we begin with our activity, we're going to start with talking about stress and how it relates to our activity. So, starting with the definition, what is stress? So, stress can occur when there is a lack of equilibrium between a job's demands and the resources and capabilities of the individual worker to meet those demands. Stress is dependent on many factors, so these can include gender, if you're not feeling comfortable around the opposite gender, race, if there's racism in the workplace, age, if you feel that your workplace has an age discrimination, geographic location, if there's a new location and you're having troubles getting to work on time, health, if you have health restrictions which can interfere with getting the task done, if you have current family issues or past experiences that have caused trauma, and lastly, personality traits. If, for example, you're an introvert and you don't feel comfortable around other people who are extroverts. Stress is a very personal experience, so the level of stress in an individual is dependent on what one interprets as threatening or challenging, and whether that individual feels that they can cope with it. The most common causes of workplace stress are demands, so that can include your working conditions, if there's shift work, longer unsociable hours, or a heavy workload. Control is another factor, so basically how you get to do things. Unfortunately, not every position you can have control over what you're doing, so that could become stressful if you don't have enough control, or at the same time, if you have too much, that can be a stressor as well. Relationships can also contribute to stress, so your relationships with your supervisors, subordinates, and colleagues. Also, if there's change, it's not always so easy to adjust to a new environment. As well, if your role is unclear for what someone in your position does, that can add to stress. And if there's any support available. And lastly, your work and life. So just trying to maintain that healthy balance between the two. Now, not all stress is bad. There's good stress too. So there's a big difference between good stress and bad stress. So let's start with the good stress, which is also known as eustress. So it can be triggered by excitement, and this type of stress will positively impact your performance. So it will help to be motivating, it will challenge you further, and the result is productive. It assists you in reaching your goals. Eustress is very healthy, as you must have some stress in your life, or life would be very boring. Although it is only good to a certain extent. Once it gets past that, that's when we get into bad stress, which is also called distress. This is when you can no longer tolerate or manage a stressful situation, which makes it difficult to cope. At this point, tension is created, and excitement is no longer present. It feels as if the stress will never end. So, distress has a very negative impact on your body. Chronic stress can lead to a suppressed immune system and results in a greater risk of illness or disease. There are short-term and long-term symptoms to stress. So, some of the short-term symptoms include raised blood pressure, sleep and gastrointestinal disturbances, increased alcohol and or caffeine and or nicotine intake, increased irritability and negative emotions, back pains, and palpitations. The long-term effects include heart disease, hypertension, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, high cholesterol, an increased risk of cancer, diabetes, and asthma. Those are just the individual symptoms. The organization gets affected as well, and there are symptoms that include increased sickness absence, increased staff turnover, reduced staff performance, reduced staff morale and loyalty, and increased hostility. Your body's response to stress is clearly very negative, and stress can really lead to physical and or mental disorders. It can either directly contribute to ill health, or it can just increase the likeliness to engage in behaviors that will result in illness. Overall, stress can affect you physiologically, so that includes nervousness, endocrine, or immunological reactions. It can affect you cognitively, as a stressful situation can be pathogenic. You can be affected emotionally and behaviorally, finding harmful solutions such as smoking or self-harm. Stress needs to be resolved as quickly as possible, and before it gets resolved, your body is continually in a state of alertness and defensive action, which results in damage and exhaustion. Fortunately, there are many strategies that can help you manage your stress. It's very important to not resort to the bad ways, which is easy to do. These include smoking, alcohol abuse, binging on unhealthy food, avoiding stress with distractions or sleep, withdrawing from friends, family, and activities, using pills or drugs to relax, taking out your stress on others, which include lashing out, angry outbursts, or physical violence, and don't dwell on the negative. There are many good ways to manage your stress, which you should try out as different things work for different people. So you can try exercising, engaging in social interactions, adapting to the stressor, accepting what you cannot change or fix, give yourself breaks so you don't get overwhelmed, try relaxation techniques, talk things out with someone, take control of the situation, manage your time so you're not in this mess to begin with, and lastly, understand what you're capable of and how much you can really handle so it does not get to this point. So when it comes to workplace stress, there are extra resources that are there to help you. So there is the Management Standards Approach, which was created by HSE, and it's designed to assist employers with managing the causes of work-related stress. So this approach is based on the 5 steps to risk assessment model. Now I'm going to tell you a bit about the exercise that we're going to be doing today, yoga. Yoga is a very relaxing exercise that has been proven in studies to help reduce stress. By practicing yoga, you can achieve peacefulness of your body and mind, which allows you to relax and manage stress and anxiety. Yoga has a very positive effect on the nervous system. According to the Global Journal of Human Social Science Yoga, yoga makes the parasympathetic nervous system more dominant and stabilizes the autonomic nervous system to enhance resistance to the effect of stress. Practicing yoga, you are learning different breathing techniques, and by controlling your breathing, you're helping to quiet your mind. You're really focusing on creating relaxation and calmness. To achieve calmness in the mind, you need to disconnect yourself from your thoughts. Now, not only does yoga help mentally, but it also helps physically to relieve stress. So a buildup of tension gets stored in the body when you're stressed out, and by stretching, you are helping to release it. Yoga puts you in a very relaxed state with controlled breathing that has many benefits, such as lowering your blood pressure and heart rate. It can reduce lactic acid buildup in muscle tissues. It can reduce levels of stress hormones. It can balance levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood. It can increase your physical energy. It can also increase your immune system functioning. And it can support healthy digestion. So overall, it increases your feeling of calm and well-being. So now that you've learned all about how yoga can be relaxing, let's put it to the test. We will now lead a restorative yoga session that you all can participate in.